Hi guys, so here is another book review for you, and this one is another one by Carrie Fletcher, which is When the Curtain Falls, which came out earlier this year. Now this story focuses around two couples, Fawn and Walter, who were in the 1950s, and Oscar and Olive in modern day. Now Fawn is an actress in a production of When the Curtain Falls in the Southern Cross Theatre, and Walter is the doorman at said theatre. Now, this is a slight spoiler, but it is said in the prologue right at the beginning of the book, so I will talk about it in this video. During the course of the run of the show, Fawn meets an untimely demise on stage, and as a result her ghost ends up haunting the theatre. Now, flash forward to modern day, and we have Oscar and Olive, who are both actors in the new production of When the Curtain Falls at the Southern Cross Theatre. Now, during the run of their show, there are various spooky goings on as a result of ghosts. So now we know what the story's about. I'll go a bit more into detail, I suppose. Now, my favourite character in this book actually isn't one of the main characters. There's a character in it called Doug, who is Olive's friend, and I just liked him as a character. He reminds me a lot of like a combination of my friends then, so I liked him. Now, the least favourite character, I'm gonna say there are two that comes to mind. One is Hamish, who is actually the villain in the 1950s timeline, and obviously he's meant to be hated, and I do dislike him. He's just really everything you can think like a typical villain, I think, is what Hamish is. And then there's another one in the modern timeline, it's Tamara, I believe, and yeah, I didn't like her just because I've met people in my life like her, and yeah. Once again, like I've said with previous books by this author, I wouldn't say there was a favourite part for me within it. Actually, that's a lie. I kind of like the epilogue. There's an epilogue, the epilogue at the end. I enjoyed that. I'm not going to tell you what it is. I'm not going to go into detail, but I liked it. I think it was a nice way to end the story. Now, when it comes to my least favourite part of the story, it's not so much the story itself. There were just two aspects in the story that kind of bothered me a little bit. Both of them take part, at least in the modern day timeline. Now, one of them was one of the characters had an accident during at one point during the story. Now, I don't necessarily have an issue with the accident itself because there was a reason for it. I just had an issue for why it happened. By which I mean, why was that person, I don't understand why that person was in that location to begin with. And that just, like, it has no effect on the story whatsoever, like that bothering me, but it felt like it could have been just a quick sentence just to say why they were there, or they were taking a phone call, or whatever, or somebody was going to meet them there. It just didn't quite make sense. Now, the other thing that bothered me is to do with the memorial to Fawn. Like I said, in the original run of the show, Fawn met an untimely demise, and a memorial was put in the theatre in memory of her. Now, here's where my issues are with the memorial. One is that it's placed up in the rafters on the wall, which it has significance for Fawn and Walter because that's where they used to meet, but in my opinion the whole purpose of a memorial is for it to be seen by people, so having it up in the rafters where barely anybody's going to see it just didn't quite make sense. Obviously Walter will get to see it, but other than that only certain people will ever go up there. So that bothered me a little bit, but I suppose it did have its reasoning. Now, the main thing that bothered me about the memorial was what it was. Like I said, Fawn meant an untimely demise. Now, that untimely demise was during the course of the show, a character gets shot. Now, there was a malfunction within the gun, and Fawn actually ended up getting shot and dying on stage as a result. Now, the memorial is a frame containing obviously a plaque saying Fawn's name and when she died, but it's also the gun that was used to kill her. Now that doesn't make sense to me, in the sense of why would you frame the murder weapon as a memorial to said person? It just seemed a little weird to me, and it bothered me a little bit, but I suppose Carrie had her reasons for doing it. Now, my overall thoughts on this book, I actually really liked it. Like I said, I got it read in a day, which is extremely rare for me. And I think the fact that Carrie is an actress as well and does work in theatre and has for some time added to the story, because it meant that she could draw on her own experiences for a lot of the book. If you are someone who likes theatre, I would recommend this book, not only for the storytelling aspect of it obviously, but you get to see some of the ins and outs of behind the scenes of what goes into a show, in a sense. Not major things, but just little things that you might not even think about when you go see a show, and I like that. Now, another thing I liked about the book was, like I said, it's two timelines, so a timeline in 1950 and a timeline in modern day, and it flicks between the two throughout. And the way in which it's distinguished between which timeline you're in. Like with many theatre productions, there's usually a poster up to go with the show. So that's how the book is separated out. So whenever you have one like this, a little poster that says Olive and Oscar on it, so you know it's the modern day. And then there's another one, which is the 1950s one that obviously says Fawn's name on it. And this is at the start of every section, so you know which timeline you're in. So I kind of like that. I think it's very, when you've got like two timelines or two narratives going, I think it's very good to have something in there to help separate the two out, so you know you don't get confused as easily, or at least I don't get confused as easily. Yeah, so overall, I really like this book. I think it is probably one of my favourites that I've read so far. It's a good story. It's just the right mix of like ghost story, magic and theatre, and I think it's a really good mix. I liked it, and I'd highly recommend it, especially if you like theatre. I think it's a really good book. So yeah, that's it for this book, and I will see you in the next book review.